So we just picked up this quad. I've actually had it for a few weeks now. It is a 2008 Yamaha YFZ450. So got this thing for a pretty good deal. Obviously for the reasons of it needing some work. Now I already worked on it a little bit just to try to diagnose what was going on with it. But I pretty much took off the carburetor. It is also a cheap Chinese carburetor, or it's a cheap aftermarket carburetor. Got that out. Got the seat off. Airbox. Had to put a battery in. And then the wires over here for the starter were not secured, and the connections pretty much just fell off. So whenever I went to go check it out to buy it, it did not want to start over. It didn't want to crank over with the button. We had to pretty much cross the solenoid for the starter to engage. Also, the key switch is backwards, so on is off, off is on. The neutral light does not work. The headlights have no bulbs in it. So what I concluded was when I was working on it was starter gear inside of here pretty much locks up with the starter when it engages, because some of the teeth on the gear for the starter is chewed up and it's not sharp enough to spin the gear smoothly. So it pretty much acts like it locks up the motor, but it doesn't, because I can turn the flywheel smoothly, but whenever you try to use the starter, it just wants to lock up. So that's kind of where I'm at right now. I didn't film it because I wanted to diagnose it further first, but it's got pretty nice plastics on it, nice graphics. You know, they're all like custom graphics on it. Tires, rear tires seen better days. Front tires are pretty good. It's got the GYTR heel guards. See, looks like pro taper bars. You know, a newish seat cover. Not sure what kind of brand exhaust this is. Might be HMF, not really sure, but looks pretty good. I ended up was able to bump start it when I went to go look at it, so it does crank over. Had to spray carb cleaner inside the carburetor to get the crank over while bump starting it, but do got a new starter. It is a Coltric starter. Had good luck with Coltric. Pretty good brand for the cheaper side. So what I want to do is just take out this starter and install the new one, and I'll show y'all what the gear looks like compared to the new one, because it is pretty worn. But I took off the carburetor, took out the airbox. I had to actually disconnect the oil lines that feed 3 ways and able to get the starter out. does need new grips. It's got fly racing grips. And I got new connectors for the cables. So I'm gonna go ahead and get that starter out. So here is the starter. As you can see, there's grooves on the tip of here. And these are supposed to be sharp pointed on the gears. See it grind it down. You can see the difference. This is the new one. Old one. So I ended up putting the starter on, and it still, for some reason, it wanted a gallop sounding, like I was catching. But I was kind of thinking it could be a compression. The compression mechanism not, releasing the compression. So it's just building up too much and not releasing when it's supposed to. So I ended up taking the spark plug out. Now it wants to crank a lot smoother. So that kind of leads me that the decompression mechanism on the cam could not be working correctly, or the valves could be out of spec. Our valve cover off and inspect all that. So we got the valve cover off. We got the timing inspection holes off. So you can see we're lined up with the top of the notch of the case and that single line after the sideways eye. So that's lined up, and our cams are not lined up. You can see you got that little dimple right there, then you got the other dimple down here. Same with the front cam, dimple there and dimple on the side here. So it's supposed to be pointing up, and dimple over here parallel to the top of the case. Same with this side. So I'm believing it's out of time. You can see the compression mechanism is working. So I'm gonna get these cams taken off, bring it back in spec, check the valves, clearances, go from there. And I got the cams in for the 450, used/newish cams from the same year, YFZ450 off of eBay. There's no marks on it or anything, so This should work. And then the timing marks on here are pointing the right direction compared to the ones that are inside of the four-wheeler. But we're gonna go ahead and take the valve cover off. Cam caps are already loose. I'm gonna go ahead and take those off and then replace them. And I'm gonna make sure the dimples are lined up. Front one parallel with the head, rear one parallel with the head, and then the other dimples kind of pointing at the 1 and like the 11. So let's see how it looks after I put it in. I'm doing the cams. The front cam went in pretty good. You know, it's pretty much lined up. And then the second cam, I noticed this shim cap was raised up a little bit than the rest. These ones are pretty much parallel with this little curve for the cam. But what I noticed was the valve keeper for that valve it pretty much broke off. You see there's one side of the valve keeper. And then when I took the cam, or when I took the shim cap off, that was kind of, the other keeper was just kind of laying in there. So this one broke. What I'm really hoping is that it did not come out of timing, or it definitely came out of timing, but I'm hoping the cylinder did not slap the stem, the valve, causing it to, you know, be bent. But I guess what I'm gonna have to do now is tear down the head and inspect the valves, because there's no way I can get that another keeper in there without taking the valve, or without taking the head off. So I guess I'm gonna go ahead and do that. More work, more parts. Front one's good, but that's the only issue. So I'm gonna take the head off, inspect all the valves, make sure they're all not bent. But I honestly suspect that one being bent, because why else would I want to break the keeper off? And then with the timing being out of spec, I would only think that it's bent from the cylinder hitting it. So it looks like the exhaust is coming off. Drain the coolant, take the cam off, then we'll go from there. The cylinder head is off. Piston looks pretty good actually. Just carboned up. I don't see no signs of a valve hitting the piston. So it would have been this one right here. And that one looks good. Here's the cylinder head. That one is broke. Don't see signs of it hitting. Would have been that far back one on the bottom right. They all look pretty good. But what I am gonna do is get me a valve spring tool. So I have to get one anyways to take it out. Then I'm gonna put it on a drill, spin it, see if it's straight. The dude said it was a new head cylinder. Who knows if the keeper just wasn't in there completely all the way, locked in, and it could have just broke, causing the compression not to release right or hold right, or whichever one. But I'm gonna go ahead and get that tool. I'm obviously gonna have to order up a new valve keeper, if this one's straight, see if I can get one on itself. We'll see what I can do. So I ended up getting the valves out. What I did notice was on one of the intakes, as you can see, it's kind of like mashed down in the middle. They don't have like that square tip like the rest of them do. But I did notice they were kibble white valves. As you could tell, the branding in the back. I don't know if you can tell, but it's kind of hard to see. But you can also tell by the valve seals. They're the red ones. Kibble white has those. And yeah, man, all the keepers or retainers, whatever you want to call them. You know, 2 out of the 3 valve keepers were pretty much broken. No, they're all cracked. These ones were good. But I don't know if it was installed incorrectly, if they weren't fully seated whenever they were installed or what. Or if the shims were too tight or too loose, or, you know, whichever way. Not really sure what would really cause that. Because the piston and everything else looked pretty new. The valve seals look new. Even the valves look kind of decently new. I mean, they're kind of carboned up a little bit, but not terrible. So I really don't think this quad has too many hours on the top end. I'm assuming it just, you know, there's just a failure. Maybe because the, I don't know, the retainers weren't just seated all the way onto the grooves here. But I also don't know what could really cause this to wear down so quickly. As you can see there, it's pretty flat compared to, say, this other one. It's pretty squared off. All the rest of them look pretty good. They slid out of the guides pretty easily. Besides like 2 of them kind of got stuck. I had to pull them out pretty good. Which is like these 2. But I'm gonna stick them on a drill, see if they're straight. Because honestly, just the way that the piston looked, and it having new valve seals and everything, and these are aftermarket kibble white valves and parts for the top end. I really feel like there's not really too many hours on the top end. I just feel like maybe something was installed incorrectly and it just eventually worn out to the point where you know, where parts just failed. So much ended up doing that, getting a whole new valve, buying brand new keepers. I'm gonna buy the same one, kibble white. I'm gonna stick with the same brand. But yeah, I'm gonna order some parts up and go from there. Like I said, I already have the new /used cams. You know, I feel like we'll be good.